Hey everyone, welcome back to episode 12 of Around the Bird Bath. I'm your host, Dan Nerdahl, and I apologize for uh, my voice with this intro. You've heard it said that I left my heart in San Francisco. Well, I left my voice in Frisco, Texas. Went up to Frisco last night for the bowl game and had a great time, but lost my voice in cheering the guys on and enjoying that experience and seeing the UTSA's first bowl win. So that's why I sound a little raspier right now. But yeah, back for another episode, another Where Are They Now? And had the great pleasure for this episode of having most recent UTSA alumnus center fielder Shane Sirdashney. And Shane is from the Woodlands, Texas. He spent all 4 years at UTSA. Started off real good as a freshman, played in 43 games, helped UTSA secure a spot in the conference tournament with his defensive play on a particular Charlotte series weekend, and he'll talk about that and how special that moment was for him. Sophomore season, was supposed to be his second season when Coach Hallmark was coming in. We all know that was the COVID year, 2020. 2021 didn't have the best year on the field, only played in a handful of games, limited action, but rebounded really nice in 2022. Really cemented himself as the starting center fielder, only missed 9 games due to injury, hit 321, 429, and 10 doubles, one triple, 5 home runs, 6 3-hit games, career high, 3 RBIs at number 14 Southern Miss. And in 2023, just as good at the plate, 361, 436, 484, for a 920 OPS. Played in 41 games. As you probably know, Shane got injured in the Middle Tennessee weekend series. He talks about that and just, what that did for his season and just everything involved with that. Really interesting to hear kind of the inside scoop and the kind of behind the scenes of everything that went on with that. And still had some special moments as we talk about in the episode. A pinch hit, a home run, and then another special moment in the conference tournament. So not only was he good at the plate, very good in the field, had a career fielding percentage of .991, and 3 seasons he had a perfect fielding percentage. In 2023, he had 100 putouts, 103 total chances, and 3 assists. So really enjoyed talking with Shane. He's out in Midland, Texas right now, putting his degree to use, working in the field, in the oil field, getting some experience with that. We also talked a little bit about what his wife Hannah is up to. They recently were married, and she is a UTSA alum herself. She played golf at UTSA, and now she's trying to pursue professional golf and trying to make it in the LPGA. So he talks a little bit about how he's helped her with that and his role and what he's doing with all of that as he encourages her both on the golf course and off. So it was really neat to hear about all of that. Also hoping, as we get closer after the holidays, baseball season's right around the corner. The official schedule just got released by UTSA Baseball. A lot of exciting matchups and series both at the Bird Bath and on the road to look forward to. And I think it's going to be another exciting season. Starting to ramp up a little more regular baseball coverage. Just pushed out an article kind of highlighting some of the American athletic teams that pre-existing conference members, not necessarily looking at the teams coming over from Conference USA, but the teams that are still in the American Athletic that didn't go to the Big 12, what their history's like, what their success has been like in regional, super regionals, where their head coach is currently at in their tenure and how long they've been there, and then also guys that they've had drafted and make it to the MLB level. So hope you enjoy that read. and got some good things planned as we get closer to the start of the regular season. And then obviously going to be keeping a close eye on all of the construction that is happening up at Roadrunner Field. We've kind of already talked about a little bit the improvements to the bleachers behind home plate and what that might look like and what we're hoping with that. Also noticed that it looks like they're doing some work out in the outfield, kind of between right center and left center. They had the wall, the outfield wall taken down. Not exactly sure what might be with that. My assumption would probably be maybe just some reinforcement, or as they move into the American Athletic and have some requirements with TV productions with ESPN Plus, maybe they're trying to get some more camera angles and some better camera angles out there. So we'll see. But going to do my best to keep you all up to date on that as best as possible. Before we take a quick Cumbia break and kick it over to the interview, I want to take a moment and thank our Patreon board of trustees and big money donors. You'll hear me mention this in the episode. One thing I'm going to start doing with the Where Are They Now episodes is we've mentioned on Jared and Adrian mentioned the Patreon chat through the app, and you get access to that being a Patreon donor at any level, and offering the opportunity for those in the chat to submit questions for my Where Are They Now guests. If there's something based on a particular guest that you have a question about or are curious about, giving you as the listeners the opportunity to submit those questions. So that's another added benefit. But also too, I mean, just the community of UTSA fans and Roadrunner fans you get by being in the chat and being able to share thoughts and takes and chats during the football games and everything with that. So with that being said, big thanks to our board of trustees, Digiteek, John Outwell, Lino Perez of Los Dos Rowdies Tailgating, Gary and Ruben representing the UTSA Bird Gang Tailgate, Ray Redding and Mimi Apparel, Brandon Grell and the Grill Realty Group, Andy Elizalde and Professional Benefit Solutions, Ian McClendon and SYCR LLC, Brandon Padron, Ryan Squires, Waterman Construction, Javon Townsend, VP of the DFW chapter of the UTSA Alumni Association, and UTSA Annual Giving. And also our big money donors, Ben Tovar, the Bunch family, Zach Espuerqueta and the San Antonio Podcast Network, Alejandro Benavides, Jacob Cavazos, board president for the UTSA Alumni Association, Maddie and Mandy, Jenna and Andy Anzaldua, Rick Cortez of Rowdy Road Grillers, and Home Field Apparel, where you can use the discount code UTSA Wants Home Field for 15% off your first purchase or 10% off for returning customers. This supports us and ROF. Saw Ben Price at the game, gave him a hard time, lighthearted, just asked him, when we're getting home field. Sounds like they're working on it. We'll see, hopefully they can figure that out, and hopefully we'll have a good reason to use that discount code. But in the meantime, thank you again for listening. Thank you for your support. I hope you enjoy the episode, and until next time, birds up.
All right, everyone, welcome back from the Cumbia break. And like you heard in the intro, we are chatting with one of the most recent UTSA baseball alumnus. You know him as the center fielder last season, Shane Sirdashney. Shane, thanks again for coming on, and how's everything going?
Thanks. I appreciate it, Dan. I just moved out here to Midland after the season ended. I just got married too in the summer. My wife, Hannah, actually played golf there at UTSA as well. She graduated a year earlier. She didn't want to take her COVID year, so I was stuck in college for another year, getting my mechanical engineering degree. But yeah, out here in Midland, working as an engineer in the oil and gas field. But yeah, glad I can be on the show.
Yeah, we're definitely grateful to have you on and appreciative, and it's neat, so I had Luke on back in the fall. back in September, October when his pro season finished up. And now I've got you on. And, last year was my first season covering the team, doing the coverage of you guys. And so it's kind of neat to start, finally putting some faces to the names. And I wish that I could have a permanent disclaimer on all of my like podcasts and blogs, like, in no way, shape, or form do I think I can do this job better than these guys can. I mean, the way you guys play the game is great. So, the other thing, it's interesting, Midland, I've got a friend because the listeners are well familiar by now. I'm a little older for being a college student at 33, but a friend of mine, he went to A&M, and I would visit him and hang out with him back when he was at A&M. And right before, like, I think his junior or senior season, and he didn't play sports or anything, but his junior season in college, junior year rather, sorry, we were trying to build like a makeshift bike jump in his backyard, and he had one of those old like rusty hand saws, and it broke, and like put a wedge in his finger, in his like ring finger, pretty good, and sent him into shock. We had to take him to, Baylor Medicine there in College Station. But he was an engineer too. I think he was oh, what's the one? Not mechanical, petroleum maybe. He might have been petroleum engineering.
Yeah, that's a pretty popular major over there. I know a lot of the engineers out here got their petroleum engineering degree there from A&M. So yeah, I'm pretty fond with that.
Yeah, and so he did his internships out in Midland in between the school years, and the doctor that was stitching him up was like, "Yeah, I still don't think they landed on the moon. I think they just flew him out to Midland and left him there for a few weeks."
Yeah, the surface out here is a little like the moon. Pretty much just those mesquite kind of tree bushes out here and flat land. Pretty much it.
Yeah. Have you been able to go to any high school football games, any Friday night lights out there?
Actually, we're renting a house out here, and it's right by where Midland Legacy and Midland High School play their games, so we can hear it from our house. The announcer whenever he's kind of doing the games, but also there's a Midland Rockhounds. They're the AA affiliate for the athletics. So we went to a bunch of their games over the summer. Actually, I remember I went there. I got some tickets from work. I went there their last kind of homestand. And one of the guys that was working there gave me a wooden bat that nobody used. So that was a little souvenir I got kind of over the summer.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was gonna ask you, just how your fall's been, because we know that like the guys just finished up their fall season. So how was it, like, kind of what was the feeling like of your first fall, not tying up the spikes and doing the fall ball grind? Was it how does that feel?
Well, I got into a little bit of fall ball. So my company, some of the guys playing a men's softball league out here. It's pretty big out in Midland. There's nothing much to do out here. So a lot of the older guys and some of the younger guys like me go out and play some men's league softball. So for 5 weeks, we play 2 games a week. And I'll just go up there and I'll just go crush the ball. And then I also was playing like outfield the whole time. And I was trying to make plays just as if I was playing fall ball back at UTSA, really. But really, I mean, I'd say the difference now is, I mean, I was doing engineering in college, so that coursework was tough. And then also practicing in the fall, I thought even the fall ball was harder than the spring ball, because at least you knew you had an off day every Monday during the season, but less stressful. It's like, I ain't gotta put so much effort into two things at once. Like I could focus on work and then focus at my at-home life with my wife. So I think it's a little less stressful actually this time around.
Yeah, no, I get that, and it's hard. I mean, probably, and we'll get more into this as we talk about your time at UTSA, but by the end of your time, like 2022, 2023, you kind of had that staple in center field and had that locked down pretty good. But earlier, probably coming into the fall, always, underclassmen, and then always vying for that spot. So maybe a lot more pressure, like, I got to have a good fall, and I really got to, come out of the summer looking fresh and looking ready to go.
Yeah. It's always tough. I mean, you can have the best fall of your life, and then you come back over Christmas break, and then you kind of have that 2-3 week window where you're trying to pick things back up with the team. And then even if you have a great fall and you kind of have a little subpar kind of preseason, you never know. Nothing's guaranteed once that first game hits and you see your lineup the lineup in the dugout.
Yeah, no, it definitely puts it in perspective. So let's go back to kind of the beginning, if we will. You getting to UTSA. I mentioned this in the bio or in your intro, from the Woodlands, Texas, kind of a local Texas kid. Spent all your time at UTSA for college baseball. What stood out to you about UTSA? And you're like a lot of the recent alum from UTSA, where you came in under the Coach Marshall era, and then Coach Hallmark took over a little after that. But what stood out to you about UTSA, and kind of why UTSA at the end of the day?
I mean, originally, I remember I was going in my junior summer. So a lot of the times, a lot of the guys, when you're getting recruited, is that junior summer is huge. Your junior year of high school. So I was kind of on the summer circuit a little bit. I was playing for a select team called Houston Kyle Chapman. Actually, I don't know if you, I think, I want to say, what's his name? I forgot. I thought that, Paul Goldschmidt, he went to the Woodlands High School, and then I want to say he played for that team, and then it kind of got big as a summer team. And then one of the players that played at the Woodlands High School, his senior year, my freshman year, his kind of dad was like, hey, come play for this team. My son's playing on it, which was that summer ball team. And then I started playing for them, I think my freshman summer. And I was getting a lot of looks through the kind of tournaments they were setting up for us. Because a lot of the times it's all about exposure. So if you get exposure to a lot of college scouts, that's probably your best chance if you go to those tournaments, and there's a large kind of group of coaches that watch you, and then you got a better chance of getting recruited. So my junior summer, I got about, I want to say 3 or 4 college offers. I remember my first one was the University of New Orleans. And then I think my second one was McNeese State. And then the funny thing is, I got an offer from UIW, which is when Coach Hallmark was there, when he got hired on for that 2018 season. I think because he came in. And the funny thing is, I remember his first time when he got hired on, and then Coach Aguayo was there too. That was his first time walking around UIW's campus, was when I took my unofficial visit there back in the summer of 2017, I think. And then right after that, I went on a visit to UTSA. And then I originally wanted to get a degree in chemical engineering. And that's what I started out with at UTSA. So they just started a program at UTSA, and I really wanted to do that. So that's kind of why I committed UTSA. And I also really liked Coach Marshall, and also kind of fell in love with the campus when I kind of walked around. So I thought it was kind of funny that Coach Hallmark was at UIW, but I ended up not going there. But then he ended up coming the next year after I played my freshman season.
Yeah, and it seems like, and it makes sense, like, with the proximity of UIW to UTSA, and how quickly he got to UTSA from UIW. But it seems like there's more than a few stories out there of guys who were recruited to UIW, or when they came back to UTSA from somewhere else. It's like, well, I knew Coach Hallmark when he was at UIW and all these things. And obviously, most recently, Tony and Taylor, they started their college baseball career with Coach Hallmark and Coach Aguayo, and then, finished up with him too. So it just kind of seems like baseball has that, it's a big, there's a lot of, I mean, there's 300 Division I teams, and there's Division II and JUCO and everything, but at the same time, it's like really small, and that community can be pretty tight knit sometimes.
Yeah, I think Texas is just so big, and there's so many kids that play baseball here that, man, you might play with somebody in a tournament when you were younger, like, oh, I remember him. He played on, and then he ends up playing at a college that you are in the same league with or something, or you play summer ball with them. I remember I played summer ball my freshman summer of college, And then for a stint my sophomore year when COVID hit, and you see guys like, oh man, I remember you. I played you in high school, or I played you during the season, or just that one game kind of preseason. So it's a small world out there for sure.
Yeah, and I feel like kind of getting into last year's team a little bit because Sammy with some of the injuries and we'll talk about that with your injury and everything, but just some of the lineup shifting around and as a way to kind of get Sammy's bat in the lineup, they moved him to first base and just a little bit I saw of like how he interacted on social media and some of the wittiness he had on social media. I feel like Sammy would be a great guy to have at first base and just chat somebody up and really, banter really well at first base.
Yeah, Sammy's hilarious. He was my locker mate in the locker room all year long. So I mean, he was always cracking jokes next to me, and he's got the best sense of humor for sure. And he can be so like you can be in the most serious moment, but then he'll say something, and then you just laugh the entire time.
Yeah, and I mean you need that. It's a long season. You guys are grinding out there. I mean, you got fall ball, you got the spring ball, you got the conference tournament, and then if you go on and play summer ball, then it's nonstop, and so you need that kind of comedic relief.
Exactly.
So you mentioned Coach Hallmark, and Coach Hallmark got to UTSA 2020. That would have been so were you a true freshman in 2019 when you?
Yeah, I was a true freshman. Yeah.
Okay. So you came off your true freshman season. You played 43 games, mentioned that in the intro. One of the highlights, at least from a team standpoint, was, you helped UTSA secure their spot in the conference tournament with your defensive play and everything. So really good freshman season. And then you're coming into your sophomore season. You got a new coach that comes in over the summer. So you get fall ball with him. And then at the same time, as we all know at this point, COVID happens. So how was that kind of getting adjusted to a new coach? The season gets just cut right right when conference play is about to start. How was juggling all of that and adapting to all that and getting used to all of that?
Man, now that you're mentioning it, I was just remembering my freshman year, what you were talking about with me kind of clinching our spot in the conference tournament. I remember that game we were playing at Charlotte. I think it was a Friday night game. I remember I was on the bench the entire game, but usually I would come in late as like a defensive replacement. I came in for Ryan Stacy in left field. And then I remember the ball I think it was first and second, and it was 5-4, I think, something like that. And I was fresh off the bench, so I was trying to keep my arm warm the whole game because I was like, I know this game's going to be close. I know I'm probably going to go in there. Then there was a ball hit. I remember it was 2 outs, kind of liner between like short and third. And then I threw the guy out from left field. I just remember that was probably the highlight of my freshman year. And I mean, my freshman year, it was all right. There were some ups and downs. I mean, freshman year, you're kind of learning kind of how college baseball works. And it's kind of a big adjustment from high school to college, I'd say, especially just understanding how to see pitches and how kind of pitching coaches and then pitchers kind of operate on the mound and just being able to kind of predict what pitches are probably going to come at you. And then I remember when Coach Hallmark came in, he had a lot of different philosophies than Coach Marshall, especially hitting wise. And I definitely took a lot of time trying to figure out kind of how to perfect my swing as much as I could when he came in there. And then I remember COVID hit. I didn't have that great of a start, I remember. And then COVID hit. And then, I don't know, it was almost like a little bit of a blip on the radar, felt like that year. I even remember when we got the message like on Twitter for Conference USA that they canceled basically the season. And then the next day we played wiffle ball on the baseball field. And then all the coaches and all the staff told us to go home. And I was like, well, what do I do now?
Yeah. Yeah. And baseball is such a sport where, staying fresh and, whether you're throwing the ball around or taking batting practice, like it's such a vital part to that progression and staying on top of your game. And so the way everything just kind of came to a stop so quickly, it was literally like overnight. They're like, all right, like things are moving. And it's like, no, everything's canceled. I mean, postseason tournaments and like, whatnot. Probably a pretty big shift, and I can imagine caught a lot of people off guard.
Yeah, I thought the funniest thing was so I think so that was probably what beginning of March, I think. That's when COVID kind of hit, kind of middle of
Hmm.
March.
Yep.
They sent us home, and then I remember it was either Coach Aguayo or Coach Hallmark, maybe even sometimes Coach Butler would call whoever up every either the week or two and just be like, "Hey, so what you been up to? Like, how's the COVID life at home? Like, what you been up to? Like, you hitting the baseball at all?" I was like, "Oh, it's just like the funniest phone call. Like, you think like, oh, why is he calling me up?" And then he started doing it. They started doing it every week just to kind of check in with us. I thought that was the funniest thing.
Yeah, kind of that wellness check, right? Like, all right, we haven't talked to Dash in a while. Let's give him a call. All right, we'll call Luke and see
Yeah.
what Luke's up to, and split them up. And you call these guys, you call these guys, and yeah.
Yeah, and then I remember, so yeah, COVID, I kind of finished on my sophomore year, kind of just doing online kind of college basically. And then I played in the Texas Collegiate League for the Brazos Valley Bombers. So they started, oh man, I think we started kind of at the end of May, I want to say. Oh, maybe beginning of June. And then I played, I think the first three games. So I hit the third game, I hit like a home run and got like player of the game. And then I think I got a walk or a single, I think, got to first base. And then it was first and second. The guy on second stole, and I was kind of caught off guard because I didn't think he was going to steal. So I got a bad jump going from first to second. So I'm trying to avoid the tag as they're trying to throw me out second, my thumb gets caught in the turf at this field. It was at for the Victoria Generals field. And
Mm.
then my thumb bent back so hard, and then I tore the ligament in my thumb and had to get surgery over the summer. And then I was done for the summer, and then also for pretty much the whole fall too, doing rehab. Kind of the fall of 2020. So that was a pretty interesting injury for sure.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, and thumbs. I mean, that's another body part that's huge for baseball, and you know, depending on which hand it is, and then what position you play, obviously. What if you remember? And I've never actually asked any of the former players this. Do you know or do you remember what Coach Marshall's like what his position was as a player, like what his trade was?
Oh, it's got to be infield for sure. He probably played. I think he went to A&M. I think I wanted to say he played either second. I want to say second or short. Yeah, because I remember
Okay.
him being always with the infielders in practice. So I think it was either second or short.
Yeah. So was that different too? Like, Coach Hallmark coming in and he's a catcher by trade and um, and then like Mikey, I think was a pitcher and Coach Butler was a pitcher. Like, was that different having your head coach be a catcher versus an infielder, or did you not
Uh,
really see?
I wouldn't say there was much of a difference. I know. I mean, Coach Hallmark. I think he was like our outfield coach, like initially when he got hired too. So he was doing outfield and catching.
Okay.
So I think he did play some outfield. I want to say a little bit, either maybe in college or when he played some pro ball for sure. I mean, he was so fast. So I mean, I'm sure he played some outfield. So he definitely taught me some things about outfield that I mean I didn't really know before. I remember my freshman year though. Our outfield coach was Roger Kieschnick. He was there for the year. I remember this guy had us doing football kind of drills as outfielders every day. And I thought he got us a lot better my freshman year. Because, I mean, coming in, I would say I was a pretty stout outfielder. But after my freshman year, I felt like I really understand what it took to be a college outfielder. And then once
Yeah.
kind of Coach Hallmark came in, I felt like I was like, oh, okay, I think I know what I need to do. I mean, outfield, it's pretty simple. As long as you catch the ball and you throw the ball in to your cutoff guy, you're probably going to do a pretty good job, I'd say.
Yeah, and I mean, you did that very well at UTSA. Your career fielding percentage was 991. 3 seasons you had a perfect fielding percentage. So yeah, I mean, a very good defensive player, and I want to get into that more in a little bit. Um, let's talk real quick about fall of 2022, and obviously we know that how the season of 2022 finished, getting what I'll say it for you, getting the snub from the committee, really doing everything that I feel like you guys needed to do to get a regional bid. We know what happened there, but I was talking to Caleb Hill a few weeks ago, interviewing him and catching up with him, and kind of got his perspective because that was his first fall coming in from JUCO. So I want to get your perspective on like what the locker room was like that fall and just the feel, being one of the senior guys and one of the veteran players.
Yeah, obviously it was pretty devastating when we didn't get that bid. I mean, it was kind of crazy because before the tournament started, I remember as a team we were thinking, okay, if we can beat Southern Miss again, like how can the committee not put us in when they're literally a national host?
Yeah.
And then did we end up beating them twice or just the one time that tournament?
No, yeah, you guys beat him twice because you beat him
Yeah,
like
so we beat.
initially, and then you knocked him out. Like the second time, you sent him home packing. So it's like at their own field, nationally ranked, everything. Yeah,
Yeah, so yeah, we beat them twice, and then we ended up losing on the walk off to La Tech. And then I remember, I mean, I was obviously disappointed we lost, but I was like, hey, I think we definitely did enough that we're probably going to at least be those kind of last four teams in to the tournament. And then I remember even Coach Hallmark kind of putting us together. He's like, he was so proud of us during the tournament. He's like, hey, I think we got a really good chance of like we're not done yet. And then well, man, we drove back from Mississippi, and then we didn't get back till I want to say like 2 a.m. I think that Monday, was it a Monday? Yeah, it was Monday, I think. And then we had all the camera crews show up to the football team meeting room, and we're literally on ESPN. Like, all right, that means we're probably gonna make it. And then like we were projected either to go to Oklahoma State or Texas or A&M. And then you see like Texas go by, and you're like, okay, maybe that's not Texas. And then A&M hits, and you're like, okay, we're not there either. It's got to be Oklahoma State. Oh, not Oklahoma State. And then it was just so frustrating because like we weren't even the last four out. Like I thought, like, okay, at least just say we were close. We were close. But I mean, at the end of the day, I heard a lot of things were, oh, we didn't have the facilities. So say if we did have an upset in a regional, like the NCAA didn't want to scramble and be like, oh, UTSA can't host because their facilities aren't up to par with what needs to be for the NCAA tournament. Because we were a dangerous team, and they probably knew that kind of going in, I bet. But yeah, and then kind of in the fall when we came back, I mean, I was my fifth year, and I was like, like I got kind of the center field position locked down. Like I think a lot of it was just trying to make sure I could kind of pass down kind of what it takes to get back to that point to all the newcomers that came in, because we had brought in kind of a pretty much new team. Like Chappie was gone, Kang was gone, a lot of key guys that were position players left, and then we had to kind of reload for that 2023 season. And I remember I thought all of our kind of veteran leadership that fall did a great job, like including myself, like Garrett Poston, Sammy, Luke, all those guys did a really good job, like just maintaining like that effort that we need to put in each day throughout the fall to be able to get back to that position when 2023 hit. But I thought that 2022 fall was really, really good experience. And I really enjoyed that, just kind of soaking in my last fall for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned some of the guys you lost. I think I remember looking it up last year whenever, Coach Hallmark was talking about the team and what the 2023 team was going to look like. And I think I saw a stat somewhere that like 2022 as a team, you guys hit like 69 home runs. And I think like 45 of those 69 home runs came from Chase, Tap, Ryan Flores, and Ian Bailey. Like those four guys contributed for like 45 of the 69 home runs. So like what is that, like 2/3 of your home run production all of a sudden just gone.
Yeah.
And obviously, Tony turned it on, Taylor turned it on, even JK at the end. Like, I mean, I can say this joke now that he's graduated and everything, but it was after one of the games. It might have been after the Houston Christian game or maybe the Rice Friday night game when you guys were playing it back in San Antonio. And I was
Uh,
talking to his mom and Catherine, and I said, like, man, like, I don't know, JK's really turning it on. He's gonna have the NCAA at his doorstep pretty soon with all these home runs he's hitting.
yeah, I remember he got hot. He's like, man, I didn't know I had this much power. Because I remember jokingly, we always kind of joke with him because I don't think did he hit a home run? Oh, man, the year prior, I'm not sure, but I think he might have got. Was it his first home run this past season? Man, I don't know, but I remember he just got hot and he just kind of started turning on balls because he's kind of that got that patented kind of backside opposite field type swing. But then he just started turning on balls, and we were like, okay, but he's finally using all that strength that he puts in the weight room into a ball.
Yeah, and that was the thing. Like they weren't just like, oh, well, the wind was pushing out, or it's a warm spring evening. I mean, he was launching those things. Like he was sending them over the net. Like he was almost hitting Shap, with some of those. And yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he just had a juice bat or something. No, I'm just kidding. No, he got all those balls.
he went and got that bat from Nolan Shanuel and borrowed it.
Oh man, that was funny too. Man, that's crazy though that Nolan General got called up to the bigs literally a few months after we just played that guy.
Yeah. Well, and I was talking to Luke about that. I was like, man, like, because I mean, aside from the home run, and then I think that same game he had a double because like he was talking a little smack, and then he lined out later, and Connor was kind of chirping from the stands. I'll always remember that. Because Nolan was like, check that stick. But I was telling Luke, I was like, because I mean, you guys shut him down pretty good for the most part, and obviously, like you swept FAU to open the conference play. So I was like, man, you can always say like he put a Major League Baseball player in his place.
Yeah. I remember that. I was so confused in center field because he smoked it over my head in center field. And that was like way out, and I was like, oh well, of course he hit one out. Okay, and then you just see some ruckus going on, like, oh, what's going on out there? Because I'm in center field. I'm like, whatever, 250 feet away. I don't know what's going on. And then what I heard was they checked the bat, like JK picked it up. And because Coach Hallmark, I think JK told Coach Hallmark, like, hey, like that bat doesn't have the sticker on it because, they do the bat testing before every kind of series. And then no one tells coach like, oh, it's on there. He's like, the coach is like, no, it's not on there. And then he got all pissed. And then he got the out, and we're like, well, hey, I mean, it's an out is an out. Like, man, you got to follow the rules, man. Because I know sometimes, like the guys, some of the teams would put pine tar kind of on and kind of sneak another bat that tested like good and take the sticker and put it on that bat. And then even though it's a bat that probably didn't pass, it's all juiced up and everybody uses that bat. But hey, the sticker's on there. So yeah. I think Tennessee had some kind of altercation with that too this past season. I mean, there's got to be probably a better way to kind of regulate that. But who's checking the bats? I mean, luckily we checked the bat for Nolan Shanuel. I mean, obviously that dude was hitting skyscraper type home runs. So, I mean, we kind of got lucky that game. And then we ended up winning by one run, I think, that game too. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, hey, that kind of made the difference for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and I did see some things like in the summer and like from D1 baseball, and they're doing some, I think for this season, they're going to do the rule a little differently, the way like you check your bats in and everything. And I think they're going to try to make it a little more organized and a little more structured. I don't know. They're always looking for ways, like, they're changing things every other year. Like I just saw something like D1 baseball is collaborating with 643 charts, and they're trying to come up with a new computer rankings system, and they want to replace RPI, which I'm not against replacing RPI. There's a lot of flaws there, and we can get into that in another episode. But they're always, like something happens with a team somewhere, it makes national attention, and they're trying to change something, and they're trying to overcorrect kind of and everything.
Yeah, I heard that they're going to maybe do it before every game in a series. Because usually you do it Thursday night. So I know usually the volunteer assistants will grab all the bats, and then whoever from the other team could be like another coach or whoever's kind of designated with all the bats. They'll kind of trade bats and then do their own separate bat testing of the other team's bats. That Thursday night practice before you play that Friday Saturday series. But I heard that maybe they're going to do it every single game, so you can't just be kind of messing with the system for this next season.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, and anything, I mean, and it's hard because I think some people will be like, man, that's a nuisance, but anything for the, what's the word I'm looking for? The sanctity of the game, and keep it clean and make it an even playing field,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you could always just go to wood bats.
Yeah, there you go. See who's really got the power then. But
yeah, yeah.
So let's talk about that 2023 season. You guys get off to a great start. I think you mentioned it's interesting when you were mentioning the Charlotte game back from your freshman season because my favorite moment of yours defensively, I've got kind of my favorite defensive moment of yours from the season and then my favorite offensive moment of yours from the last season. But defensively, I think it was the Middle Tennessee game where you had misplayed a ball and it got over your head and the guy got a double, but then that same half inning you did a catch him, throw him out to Matt King and Tony. Was that the Middle Tennessee game?
Was it kind of a pop fly and then the guy kind of tied up from second to third?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I just remember that now. Yeah, that was a good play. Yeah. I was even thinking probably one of my better plays was when we played Rice and then I kind of robbed a home run there. That was I thought kind of the highlight I remember from kind of defensively for the season. I don't know if you remember that one.
No, for sure. And I think why I kind of settle on the Middle Tennessee game, that play is just when anytime, like for you as a, because when you go up and you make a leaping catch and you rob a home run and everything, and I think there was a couple times where you made some pretty deep warning track fly ball outs and robbed some home runs, but it was kind of like, all right, so I misplayed this one a little bit, but then you made up for it and kind of corrected it yourself by doubling them up the next, that same half inning still.
Yeah, I just kind of brushed that one off. Usually I don't make bad reads, so I think everybody was kind of surprised, like, oh, what happened with Shane? But I think that ball was smoked though, off the bat, and I don't know, those ones where they're kind of going right at you, and you're like, man, do I take a step forward or do I take a step back? And then I chose the wrong one. I went forward, and I was like, oh, okay. Well, at least I'm going to hustle and get this ball in before you can get a triple at least.
Yeah. What would you say, giving you the opportunity to brag on yourself a little bit, what would you kind of credit for your defensive play in center field? Like, would you say you understand the alleys really well? Do you see the ball off the bat really well? Is it just, I mean, obviously your speed plays a big factor. You had great range in center field, but if you had to kind of promote yourself for a moment, like what would you credit it towards?
Ooh, that's a good question. Man, I would say a lot of it is just imagining. So imagine that the ball's coming to you every pitch. And then you can kind of tell from center field, oh, that pitch is going to be outside. There's probably like a 90% chance if it's kind of outside of the part of the plate, depending on what batter it is, it's going to go to the opposite side of the field. So I can kind of already get a quick movement over there going that way to get that extra jump I need to get a ball in the gap. I also thought kind of growing up, I played football too, and I played a cornerback in high school at the Woodlands High School, which, I mean, it's big time 6A Texas football. I thought always doing that stuff in the fall, kind of change of direction type stuff, kind of covering routes for wide receivers. That always kind of helped me out when it came around for baseball in the spring. And I took advantage of that kind of training that I did through football. And then obviously there was no football going on for me in college, but kind of the same fundamentals that you do in practice for football, I kind of transitioned to that once I got to UTSA.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I mean, a crafty wide receiver, they're gonna move a lot more than a baseball. Like a baseball might move a little bit, it might get caught up in the wind, but that wide receiver is gonna move a lot more. So I can imagine how that correlates well and helps you in that area. So
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of the kind of different like factors that kind of between kind of the average college outfielder versus the elite one, I would say is that initial jump. Like you don't have to be the fastest guy. I mean, I got some speed, but I ain't the fastest guy. But it's those jumps. If you can get that one extra step before the other guy, I mean, that's kind of the difference maker and you catching the ball or not.
yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah. So, staying on that weekend, and obviously it's kind of a bittersweet weekend in general for you because it was I think that Saturday or Sunday, trying to beat out a infield single or a hard hit ground ball, and that's when you kind of initially for the first time of the season hurt your knee. Did you kind of know right away something wasn't right, like when you pulled up there, or when did it kind of set in for you that you might have injured something?
Man, so I remember the day prior, I don't know how well I did that Friday game, but I just remember I think I did a lot of running. And then I woke up the next morning, I was like, man, my kind of like hamstring, kind of calf area is like little tight, but like that's college baseball. Like you're not going to feel great every game. So, I stretched it really good. Make sure I did a good warm up, like my typical warm up. And then I want to say, did I hit a chopper or something? I don't know exactly what it was. And then kind of that initial swing and then that initial step off my right leg. Um, uh, was it my right or left? I can't even remember now because I can't even feel the injury. It was either my right or left. Oh, I think it was my right. And then I was like, man, I kind of felt a pop and I was like, oh man, it's not good. But I beat it out. And then I was jumping around after I got the first base. And I was like, okay, I don't really feel it now. And then I stayed in there. And then I don't know whoever was up next after me hit the ball. And I was kind of trying to run as fast as I could in second, but I could not put any weight on that thing. And I was like, oh man, I don't know how I'm going to get to home. And I was at second and I think I got to third. And then I was just hobbling around. I was like, I am not going to be able to play outfield after this.
Yeah.
So I got out there. I got out of the game. I was like, yeah, it's no good. And then so I went to the training room and then kind of Andrew, our trainer, kind of thought I just probably stretched that kind of tendon or my hamstring pretty bad. So I just rehabbed it. Man, I was trying to get better back pretty quick. So probably about 2-3 weeks I was rehabbing. And then I was wearing kind of like a brace with like tape around it just to kind of support it. And I was feeling like I was like getting back to like hitting was fine. It was just the running part.
Yeah.
And then I came back and played, I think against Sam Houston on a Tuesday game. And then I smoked a ball. My first at bat, like right at the second baseman, hits off of him. And then I was like trying to kind of turn around first because initially I thought, oh man, I'm gonna have to beat this out. If he kind of blocked it with his chest, and then picks it up and tries to throw me out. But then it got to the outfield. I was like, oh man, I'm gonna have to turn really quick at first to get the second. And then I turned and I was like, oh, it's not good. It's not good. So then, I was done. And then I finally got an MRI on my leg. And then I ended up partially tearing my tendon in my knee. And I was like, well, why didn't we do this earlier? So I knew what needed to be done. Man, I thought we could have done a lot better managing that because I thought we could have got something verified earlier. And then I could have came back earlier in the season and then kind of helped out the team. Cause I think we went like 500 when I was not in the lineup after that. So to get me back the quickest I could, since we knew it was like partially torn, I ended up getting a PRP injection. I don't know if you know what a PRP injection is, Dan. You know what it is?
A little bit, yeah.
So, well, I'll just kind of explain it. But basically, they took my blood, put it in like a centrifuge, and then took all basically the good blood, and then injected it back into my leg with this huge needle that I will tell you what was probably the most painful feeling I ever felt in my life. But I was like, I need to get this done if I want to play at the end of the season. So I got that done. And then I was hobbling back to my car after that. and I was probably sore for about 3 days straight. Couldn't like bend my leg. So then I kind of was just rehabbing, trying to just kind of not put much weight on it for I think 2 weeks. And then I was feeling great. Like I felt great. And then I came back against La Tech. I told Coach Hallmark kind of before the series, because I was running full speed and going around the bases. I was like, hey, like if you need me in there, like you can put me in there. Like I'm good to go. And then he didn't play me that Friday, that Saturday, and that Sunday. He wanted to get me something in before the conference tournament started. And then I came into pinch hit when we were down, and then I smoke a home run, like ironically. And I was like, well, man, why couldn't I have done this earlier if I had treated it properly, like the 2 or 3 weeks prior? But yeah, that was kind of the rundown of what happened with my injury, because everybody didn't really know, because we don't put out any reports about what happened. So if you want to reach out, you just got to reach out to the player and be like, hey, what's wrong with you? And then you can know.
Yeah. Yeah. And I had heard through a couple different avenues what had happened, or just kind of that it wasn't looking great. It was more than just kind of a bruise or something. And, I didn't want to disrespect the people that had let me know what was going on with you and stuff. So I kind of kept it to myself. Because I think it was like, because Isaiah also got injured that weekend with the hamstring.
Right.
The same weekend you did. And then that following Tuesday, you guys played Texas State at the Birdbath, and Ty played that game hurt. And then after that game, with his injuries and everything, he didn't make another appearance. So it's like you lose 2 outfielders and a utility guy all in one weekend.
Yeah. And I mean, I remember, me, and then I know Ty and Isaiah did a great job against A&M when we beat them. And then we kind of had a good lineup set out there with like Ty in there, and then me, and then Isaiah, and then kind of all 3 of us got hurt. And then it was just bad timing. And then we were kind of trying to pick up the pieces when we were all hurt then.
Yeah. And that's what I've told people is like, what, aside from like losing your, defensive ability. And I wish college baseball did a better job of tracking defensive runs saved, because I'd be curious to see like what your numbers are. But, that, and then just your ability to beat out infield singles and everything. But from a lineup perspective, you lose that many parts, and all of a sudden now your bench guys like, Aiden Bauman, Dalton Porter, they become the starters, which I mean they did a good job of carrying the weight. But now it just that trickle down effect of like, now the guys that are normally I'm gonna put these guys in to get my righty lefty matchup or whatever. Now they're starting, so now the guys available for those late inning strategy moves are even, you've got even less depth for that. So it just really affects the team as a whole in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and I even remember Aiden. I mean, I kind of feel bad, but at least he got to like play though for the season. I think the kind of plan was for him to kind of redshirt this season and kind of learn from me and the other outfielders, and then kind of have his like real freshman season the next year. But then since he played, because a bunch of guys got hurt, including myself, he had to go in there, kind of prove himself when he hasn't played all season, and that's tough to do as a freshman. But he kind of held his own though, for sure. But I almost felt bad for him, because I was like, man, I lost his red shirt for him.
Yeah, and I wish. I mean, I know that's something they're talking about doing. Who knows if how it will change? But because football, they get the 4 games where they can play and not. So I wish baseball had something like that, like a percentage of the season you could play and not lose the red shirt.
Yeah, that's kind of ridiculous. I mean, but football is the moneymaker though, for sure, in athletics, like everywhere. I mean, it is crazy though that where football plays 12 games, and then they can play up to 4, and then they can get a red shirt. But baseball, you play 50 plus games, and if you play half an inning, then you lose your season right there.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah. How did you stay focused? We were talking offline before we started recording, and you mentioned your 2021 season. didn't go as great as you would have liked and didn't play as much as you would have liked. So then fast forward to 2023, and now you're kind of like in your final season. You're the guy in center field, and then you have this injury that really affects a lot of what you do in center field. So how did you stay focused like while you were rehabbing and while you were trying to stay fresh and get back on the field? And was there anything about what you learned from 2021 that carried over into your senior season?
Man, I think from 2021 and then kind of 2022, I kind of just felt more relaxed. I mean, I've seen so many pitches, and I'll tell you what, probably hitting wise, I kind of focus more on kind of being expecting off speed pitches. So a lot of it was two strike approach. So I mean, whenever I would get to two strikes, I kind of changed my approach to think like, just let this ball get as deep as it can kind of in my kind of swing path. So then I can get as much time as I can to see the ball and see what actually pitch it is. So if I go up there two strikes and, usually you're probably going to get off speed with two strikes. So if I can just recognize it out of his hand a little sooner by kind of thinking he is gonna, then at least I'm gonna get that kind of little edge that I need to at least put the ball in play or put a good barrel on it. And that's kind of what I used kind of going to my 2022 season. I had a lot better two strike approach and I was a hard out. And I actually walked a ton 2022 and 2023 because I could just stay in at bats longer, foul off pitches, and then just have a better eye and end up walking at the end of the at bat. But then what was the other question you were saying?
Oh, just kind of like having to deal with that injury and you're focused on your senior season. Like, how did you stay motivated? How did you keep a good headspace like while you were rehabbing with the injury and everything?
Well, yeah, so it kind of worked out nice. So since I had my fifth year because of COVID, I got to kind of stretch out my mechanical engineering kind of coursework. So I took 12 credits in that fall of 2022, and then I only had to take my one 3 credit course in the spring. So I was only taking one course, kind of my senior design course, which is kind of like the final course you have to take. You kind of have to like build something as part of like the engineering program. So I was really not that busy, so I could take time out of my day to go to the training room and get the treatment I needed because I only had the one class, basically Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And then that kind of optimized me to kind of just get as much time as I needed to kind of get back into baseball shape and then rehab for my injury. So I thought that was nice because I had a lot of the times it's hard as a student athlete when you have all these classes and then you got practices and then you can't really fit in time for the training room. So when you get hurt, it's almost like a burden on you to go find time to get better. But at the end of the day, I was like, this is my last season playing baseball like ever. So if I can even play at 80% or 75%, kind of just wrap up my leg or something, I know I can help my team win. But at the end of the day, when I came back early from my injury, I was like, I know Aiden or Ty is going to be a better fit out there because I'm not going to be able to get the reads I can if I was healthy. But once I got that PRP injection, like I was saying, and I took those 2 weeks off to just heal it, I was ready to go, basically that Law Tech series. And then, it was a quick double dip at the conference tournament. So it was kind of disappointing that I only got to play in those kind of 3 games at the end of the season.
Yeah. And those were, both of those kind of those last 3 games, I think those were my favorite offensive moments for you. You mentioned the home run, the pinch hit home run, and that's like something out of a movie. Like, here's the senior center fielder coming off the bench, like trying to get one more win before the regular season finishes and just smokes one to keep the game close and give you guys a chance at the end. But then also the Charlotte game, and the game was kind of already out of reach at this point. Baseball's never fully over, but they were starting to run away with it. And I think the writing was on the wall, unfortunately, but you just laced a triple. And I think you hit it perfectly in the gap and got all the way to the wall. And I mean, I can imagine you probably put every single ounce of energy and whatever your knee had left in it to leg out that triple. And interestingly enough, as far as like the stats say, that was your only triple of the season. So I think that was kind of fitting to go out, if you will, just highlighting all of the positive things you brought to the field.
Yeah, and I thought it was kind of funny. I think my last four at bats, I hit for the cycle. So I think I got a double. I mean, I think I got a double before that Sam Houston game. I hit the home run at La Tech, and then I think I got a single in the game against Middle Tennessee State, and then I hit the triple that final game. So I thought that was kind of cool that I hit the cycle my last four at bats in my college career.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, it was a lot of fun to watch, and you always brought your A game. Always knew that we'd get a great defensive performance from you in center field and everything. So let's kind of transition a little bit. You mentioned in the intro you're out in Midland working. You kind of told me a little bit offline, but just recap again exactly what you're doing out there, kind of the year-long program and everything.
Yeah, so I'm working as a rotational engineer for an oil and gas company out here in Midland. So kind of learning the four phases of kind of extracting oil and gas from the ground. So kind of the four kind of ways an engineer can get in the field is you can do drilling, production, facilities, and then completion. So those are kind of the four types of engineers, kind of engineering roles that you can be out here, kind of extracting oil from the ground. So I'm going through that program for a whole year, and then I'm going to get kind of placed in a full time. Well, I am full time right now, but I'll be actually in a solidified role on a team after my year. So in July of next year, I'll be staying out here, probably most likely in Midland. Just hanging out here with my wife Hannah. She's also continuing her golf career. So her season starts up back in April. So my side hobby is going to be basically caddying for her whenever I'm off of work. So that'll be interesting. But yeah, it's just me, her. We got a dog named Birdie, and that's pretty much us out here. Finding my kind of new path after playing college baseball.
Yeah, for sure. And I want to talk more about Hannah's journey and everything and your involvement with that. Before we get there, if you could, and this is probably a big ask. If you could pick one thing from baseball that baseball did to kind of help prepare you for life after baseball, and so for you being out in Midland, working in the field and everything, what would you say like was one thing you're taking from baseball that's helped you, since you hung up the glove?
Ooh, man. Man, just one. I got a few.
Yeah, I mean, whatever you got, let's hear them.
I'd say number one, time management. Managing my time as a college baseball player, number one for sure. You learn real quick, especially my freshman year. I remember that my freshman year of playing that fall ball, I was so exhausted every day because I was doing school and then going to practice, lifting at 6 a.m. Oh man, I remember I was like, how do I manage all this time? Like, I feel like I got no time. So how do I get all my homework in? But you that first fall, and then obviously I take that in every day. You got to be able to plan out your day and know how to effectively time manage whatever needs to get done. Like just like day to day in your social life, or even just like at work in general. And then definitely, I'd say, kind of surprisingly, is kind of the networking skills. I think just talking to teammates, talking with coaches, talking with you right and reporters, just kind of that business side of being able to kind of just talk and network with people and like continue a conversation like we're doing right now in this interview. I think that's one of those kind of soft skills that you learn as a baseball player.
Yeah, no, for sure, and that makes sense. I mean, I've mentioned this before, like just all the responsibilities you guys have as student athletes, and you talked about it a little bit with the class load and rehabbing and everything, and tying in where Hannah's at right now, and as she's going after her goals of becoming a professional golfer and everything. What I've seen from like what she's posted on Twitter and how she's kept her, followers and everyone up to date is what was the most eye-opening was just how involved it is to even get into the professional scene, like all of the qualifying processes and all the tournaments and everything, but then all the expenses that go with it. And we can talk about, we've talked before on previous episodes, or I've talked with others about baseball scholarships and what's available to you guys as baseball players for scholarships, but also that kind of correlates with where she's at now, trying to find sponsors, trying to help, fund these expenses and just the ongoing expenses and everything. And I think a lot of times people don't realize just how much is involved with pursuing these goals.
Yeah, it's kind of the funny saying. It's like it takes money to make money. So
Right.
I mean, it's hard when you're moving out here to a new place. So I'm trying to find new people out here to kind of help us out. I mean, obviously I'm going to help her out as much as I can, but it's almost like if we can find somebody else that can help us, help her with her journey. Professional golf, that kind of eases the burden on me, day to day with her. I mean, I kind of just want to caddy for her, kind of be that emotional support that she needs whenever she's playing, and just let her relax. Because a lot of it is the stress of, man, how am I going to kind of pay for this next tournament? I mean, if I don't do well in the tournament, I'm not going to make money. But it's like, hey, if you get the money from somebody else and then you do well in a tournament, it makes that person who gave you the money makes them look good at the end of the day. And then obviously if you do good in a tournament, that can pay for the next tournament. And then it kind of cascades along itself. And then it kind of projects you kind of forward and move up. What her end goal is to be on the LPGA tour.
Yeah, no, for sure. And neither of you probably had a lot of involvement with this because of when it came into play, but it kind of sounds like where she's at right now as a postgraduate and pursuing the professional side of things is it's kind of like NIL, like you're putting yourself out there, you're marketing, you're networking, you're pushing your own brand, and you're trying to get these people to support you and kind of show that there's value to what you bring to the table.
Right. Yeah. And it's tough because, I mean, I was saying that she just started doing some teaching down here kind of as a little side gig just to make some money in the off season, kind of preparing for her actual season, just in case we can't find somebody who can kind of provide the funds that she needs for her upcoming season. And then it's just tough, like moving here, like I go to work every day. And then I can network with people there and then kind of see, oh, hey, maybe go talk to this person at this golf course, or, hey, this person has their own business here in Midland, go talk to them. So it's a lot of it is, hey, some people give you suggestions, but you got to go out there and then you got to go network yourself and then kind of sell your brand almost of like, hey, this is what my kind of story is. Hey, do you want to join me in my story?
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And it's exciting to see kind of the success she's had, and you mentioned this offline, some ups and downs, and that's a lot of sports, unfortunately, but it's encouraging to see her pursue her goals, and it will be exciting to watch her continue as she pursues that. What how much has caddying for her helped your game? Have you seen your handicap go down at all, or?
Hey, so I mean, I started dating her my freshman year of college. Man, I was probably shooting, man, high 90s, I want to say. I had that typical baseball swing kind of when I was swinging the driver. I mean, I started playing golf when I was like 6 years old. So I went to the range with my dad all the time growing up, but nothing too serious. But when I met her, I was like, well, man, it'd be great to have a wife that you could go play golf with every Saturday and Sunday. I mean, so that was kind of a little perk now. But I'd say now, actually, we played the other day here in Midland. She shot a 74. I shot an 82 with two birdies. So, I mean, I've gotten a lot better since then. And I always joke with her that my lifetime goal is to beat her in a round of golf one day. So hopefully that's sometime soon.
Yeah, well, and I can imagine that she's got some beneficial resources to help her own game, whether, yardage markers or whatever. And you probably get access to that as well. So
yeah, we actually just got her. Well, I got her this is a funny story, but it's a thing called super speed. So it's these kind of weighted, almost, it's like a golf club with a little metal on the end, and then you do training. So you kind of just do your own swing, like kind of with like a lighter weight than a golf club and then a heavier weight. We kind of do the same thing. Actually, Coach Hallmark has us do like these weighted bats and then like a lighter bat because you're trying to train your body to be able to swing at such a fast speed. So you use the lighter bat to kind of get those muscle memory kind of instincts when you swing. So it's kind of the same thing, but for golf. So I've been doing that with her every week, trying to improve my swing and then kind of add some speed as well.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. One thing we're doing, and your episode is kind of the first one we're doing this for, and basically just reaching out to our listeners that are Patreon supporters and follow us on Patreon, giving them the opportunity to ask questions or submit questions to ask to our guests. And so Ray Redding had a question, and it's actually kind of more a question pertaining to Hannah, but you can answer it, I'm sure. And he basically said, last year at the golf tournament, the Birdies for Golf fundraiser that UTSA baseball does, Hannah won the long drive contest by a wide margin. And Ray wants to know, will she be participating again this year, or will one of us have an actual chance at winning the long drive competition?
Oh, I mean, we have not signed up yet. I don't know if they're sold out yet, the tournament. So you guys might have a chance this year. I mean, we're trying to fit that into our schedule, but I'm not sure just yet. So maybe he has a chance. I don't know. She got to hit from the front tees, which is kind of cheating because she can crush the ball like 275 yards. So we'll just leave it at that, I guess.
Yeah, well, and I'll make sure because I'll actually be there this year. I signed up and everything. I don't know how much I'll golf because I haven't golfed in about 8 years, and so I'm going just to hang out and see some friends and stuff. But if you guys do show up, I'm sure they make an opportunity for you to get in. But we'll make you have kind of the amateur / pro tag so you can play a little different handicap than everyone else.
There we go.
But no, it's always a great time. It's a great way to fundraise for the baseball team. A lot of alumni are out there, and it's always a lot of fun. And so for the listeners, if you're thinking about signing up, encourage you to do that and everything. So let's kind of close it out here. Really appreciate your time, Shane, and you coming on. Where can people kind of get connected with you? But then also too, like if anyone's listening and they want to help out with Hannah and everything she's doing, how can they follow along with her and maybe reach out to help out if anyone feels led to do that?
Man, you can reach out probably through Twitter. I mean, Dan, you just reached out to me the other day. I'd be like, hey, you want to be on the podcast? I was like, oh, why not? I mean, you can follow us both on Twitter. I don't know if she changed her last name just yet. Hannah changed her last name to my last name, so it's Hannah Sirdashney, not Hannah Holzman. Don't know if she updated it yet on Twitter, but I know you can follow her on Instagram. If you want to reach out to us through email or text, hey, but I mean, the easiest probably way is just through social media. I mean, we're pretty much on it most of the time, checking the updates, just seeing what Dan's up to on Twitter. So pretty much that's where you can find us.
Yeah, well, I appreciate your support and your willingness to come on. And I just looked just to double check. She still has it as H Holzman _golf. So Hannah Holzman is still her name and everything. And she does have Midland, Texas as her location. So yeah, she's got that much. But I imagine
that's updated.
yeah. Listen, I imagine it's easier just as she's pursuing this to have the Holzman golf, and keep that. Any plans to get back to San Antonio in the spring for any games or anything?
Oh man, well we were really hoping on going to the UTSA football game. We were hoping they were going to win against Tulane and then host the championship. So we were planning on that. And then they came up a little short against Tulane. And we're like, oh, but they do got the bowl game in Frisco. I mean, I was thinking maybe we could go to that, but I think my work schedule couldn't really fit that in. I was kind of hoping that they were projected, and I think in one of them to go to the Hawaii Bowl, and that was on my birthday on December 23rd. December 23rd is my birthday, so it's coming up. So I was like, oh, maybe I could go to Hawaii and go on a little trip or something, but that didn't work out. So I mean, we'll try to kind of go back down to San Antonio. Actually, wait, let me think. We're going to San Antonio the 22nd to the 24th. to go see my in-laws, to go see Hannah's family for those few days. And then we're driving to Houston to go see my family on Christmas Eve, Christmas Eve dinner there. And then we're staying there for a week because I got a bunch of time off for work. And I haven't seen my family in a while because I went to Hannah's family's for Thanksgiving. So we're kind of busy the next, I guess, 2 weeks.
But any any plans to come back in the spring for any baseball games or anything?
Ooh, I mean, I gotta look at the work schedule. I'm obviously going to be keeping up with it. If I can fit it in the schedule, I definitely want to go see a series. I'm still waiting for that whole schedule to be released so I can be like, okay, all the home games, and then I can be like, okay, which one do I really want to see? And I think isn't ECU is coming to San Antonio to play in a series. Is that correct?
Yeah, and so that's actually going to be they're going to open up conference play with ECU.
Yeah, I know. I really want to see that because ECU is like a powerhouse in AAC, so I want to see how kind of they fare with them. Hey, but I mean, I'm going to look at the schedule, kind of see what time I got to go kind of fit into my schedule here in Midland. It's about a 4.5, 5-hour drive to San Antonio from here. So just got to kind of make some day plans if I want to go out there, maybe make a weekend out of it. So we'll see. But once that schedule comes out, I'll make sure to kind of go see a series for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's hoping to be a good one. And I mean, going to be a big turnover this year of the roster in a lot of ways. And so they looked good through the fall, and you mentioned a little bit that, that couple weeks off or whatever can change some things. So hopefully they can stay fresh and coming out playing well like you guys did last year and everything. And they can put it all together. So
I'm just hoping that the video quality at the field is so much better for this year because I remember when my parents got the Conference USA TV, kind of the subscription for the season, and then sometimes you wouldn't even get the broadcast for like 2 innings, and then you'd be like, "What happened?"
Yeah, yeah, and I do think with the AAC, I think the games will be on ESPN Plus. That's still not a perfect. Like I've seen ESPN Plus baseball productions that still aren't great, but hopefully they'll be motivated with the new broadcasting opportunities to get some camera angles out there. I was actually just I was messaging Tap recently because his wife, for those who don't know, Jonathan Tapia just got married, and his wife she played soccer at UTSA, and she did the kind of the color commentating this past season for the UTSA soccer games. So I was asking Tap, I was like, "Hey man, we gonna hear you on the mic for baseball?" He's like, "Well, we'll see, if the opportunity presents itself." So that'd be cool to get Tapia on there as the color guy.
That would be pretty neat. Hopefully that new press box is pretty nice and he can kind of break it in for all the UTSA people coming in.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. Lay the foundation for the future, just the same way you guys did in a lot of ways. So
there we go.
Well, Shane, thanks again. I really appreciate you coming on, and hope to see you in San Antonio. We can catch a game together. If not, hopefully as we just mentioned, the broadcast quality will be there. But good luck to you as you continue to get in the workforce, and good luck to Hannah as she goes on, continues to pursue her goals, and hope to see you guys soon.
Sweet. Yeah. I appreciate it, Dan. I saw the Twitter notification. I was like, oh wait, what does Dan want? And then I was like, oh, Dan, be on the podcast. I was like, yeah, sure. Why not? And then it was really good. It was good to kind of reminisce kind of on my playing days. Even though it felt like it was forever ago at this point, it actually felt pretty fresh now after I was just talking to you, and you kind of reminded me of some stuff that I kind of forgot since the 6-7 months since I stopped playing in May. But yeah, I really appreciate being on the podcast. Hey, if you guys ever want me back on, hey, I'm all for it. I love discussing UTSA baseball and whatever UTSA athletics, always trying to keep up with kind of what's in the now for it. And I hopefully UTSA continues kind of on this upwards trajectory, because since was there at my freshman year to now, especially with how football is and baseball and also the women's soccer program, and then the women's golf team's always been good. I think me and Hannah definitely put a good legacy there in San Antonio for sure.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Definitely agree with that. And hopefully they can keep it rolling. So,
Yes, sir.
all right, Shane. Well, thank you so much.
All right, man. Take it easy.
All right, thanks you too.